Hi, this is Joe Simons, one of the community educators at Safe Berks, and as part of our ongoing activities during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, today I'm going to focus on sexual assault awareness in a sometimes overlooked community. Sexual assault affects every demographic and every community, including LGBTQ people. During this presentation, I will use the acronym LGBTQ, which stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer or questioning. The plus sign is meant to include anyone who considers themselves to be outside the norm of straight and/or cisgender, but also don't identify strictly with L, G, B, T, or Q. And in case you're not sure, a cisgender person is someone who identifies with or matches the sex they were assigned at birth. I'm going to start with this graphic, which shows the continuum from sexual harassment to sexual assault and applies to any kind of relationship. Sexual assault is an act in which a person intentionally sexually touches another person without that person's consent, or coerces or physically forces a person to engage in a sexual act against their will. On the continuum, anything from the middle, where it says touching and pinching, towards the right-hand side, where it says sexual assault, is a form of sexual assault. As a community, LGBTQ people face higher rates of poverty, stigma, and marginalization, which puts them at a greater risk for sexual assault. They also face higher rates of hate-motivated violence, which can often take the form of sexual assault. People who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer often face increased rates of domestic violence and have a harder time accessing support. Because of discrimination they face surrounding their identities, LGBTQ victims of sexual assault are often hesitant to seek help from police, hospitals, shelters, or rape crisis centers, the very resources that are supposed to help them. Although statistics report that there is approximately the same number of occurrences of sexual assault in the LGBT community as there are in the straight cisgender community, the actual number of incidents of sexual assault may be higher because many members of the LGBTQ community simply don't report the abuse when it happens. We do know that lesbian and bisexual women are at least 3 times more likely to experience sexual violence than straight women, and that 1 in 4 bisexual women will experience sexual violence. Even worse, 1 in 2, or half of all transgender people, are sexually assaulted at some point in their lifetime. Although sexual assault happens to women more often than men, it happens to men too. Statistically, 1 in 6 men will experience sexual assault in their lifetime. And in the LGBT community, 26% of gay men and 37% of bisexual men experience rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. And 40% of gay men and 47% of bisexual men have experienced sexual violence other than rape. When people say things like in this slide, "Oh, you're a man, you should be able to fend him off," they are participating in gender stereotyping, which is having mistaken ideas or beliefs about males and females that are based on untrue or only partly true information. In this slide, the stereotypical belief would be that all men are strong, or all men should be able to fight. Stereotyping people is a type of prejudice because it assumes that all people of a certain group have the same characteristics. Because of stereotyping about only women being victims of sexual assault, as well as discrimination towards the LGBT community, gay men who have been sexually assaulted may be particularly reluctant to seek help. As you watch this video called Guys Read, Alex's Story of Survival After Sexual Assault, think about gender stereotypes and how they can affect sexual violence.
I remember the night in agonizing detail. I remember the excitement of being in a new city, ready to begin my first year of college.
I just moved into my dorm, and it was strange and warm and comforting to see your familiar face in this foreign environment. I was happy to be with you.
It had become late and I was ready to go to bed. It had been a long day for you too.
You asked if you could sleep in my dorm, given how late it was.
Reluctantly, I agreed.
I remember laying next to you, stone cold, unable to sleep or move.
This is not where I thought the night would lead to. I was afraid.
I didn't know what was happening. I remember thinking,
this is not what I wanted. I remember asking you to stop.
I lay there in silent shock as I let you violate me.
I was supposed to defend myself. I was supposed to kick and scream, but I did nothing.
I was afraid. I convinced myself that this isn't happening. I was helpless.
I tried to stay as busy as possible and do anything I could to not think about it.
I remember being home for Thanksgiving and Christmas break and feeling nothing.
I wasn't excited to see my family. I wasn't hungry.
I cried a lot.
I would cry at least once, sometimes twice a day.
At night, I would cry until the exhaustion gave me peace. That is what you did to me.
I constantly thought about how I could have stopped you.
I wondered what would have happened if I hadn't panicked.
If I had just asked you to leave.
I continue to struggle with this today. I'm still trying to figure out where to go from here and how to deal with what you did to me.
The only thing I know is I will be okay.
I will close these wounds without your permission.
I will talk about it whether you want me to or not.
I will talk about it even though men aren't supposed to get raped.
I will talk until people listen. I was definitely surprised to learn that it was a male in the end, and because it really came off being helpless and not knowing what to do in a certain situation. It just didn't come off as like how many people think men react in those situations, you know?
Yeah. No.
And I really don't know what I would have done if I was in his shoes.
Right. It's important that other guys, survivors are, that we acknowledge that this happened, because that was a big issue.
Sexual assault against males does happen more than people think, and I think males are just afraid to come out and say it.
Do you have anything to say to the person who let you share their story?
Be strong, and there's more people out there that are like you that have the same story, and just because people say something shouldn't happen doesn't mean it's not going to, and when it does, or if it does, that shouldn't make you feel like you need to hide it. Definitely try and talk to people about it. Let people try to help you.
Right. All right. Thanks. That was my story that you read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you for that. It's been something that I've been
struggling
with, is how to talk about it. With me, it was not having anyone to identify with, not having anyone to talk to. So that's part of why I'm here today, is to say this happened to me, and it's not totally uncommon. It happens. You're not alone.
When you brought up to your parents, how did they react compared to how your friends reacted?
For some, it was easy to talk to them about it. So my friends were one of the first people I turned to, especially my closest friends, and they were the ones who really initially helped me and really took time to make sure I was okay. It was easy to talk to my mother about it, and we did talk about it, and we have discussed it for some time, but my father was it was hard to talk to him about it, and in a way it was the same thing. I felt that it was hard for him to acknowledge that something like this could happen, and that something like that did happen.
Mm-hmm. What resources did you look for? People did you try and talk to?
The first people I turned to were health professionals, because I thought that they would be able to help me. A lot of what I was dealing with at the time was like mental health related. I was having a hard time processing all the emotion and stuff that went along with it. A lot of the anger and resentment and sadness that I sort of talked about in the piece, like the overwhelming sadness. And it felt very clinical, like this is something that we're going to treat, rather than like this is something that will heal,
Right. I took a gender studies class, and it seems like whenever males brought it up, it came off more as like, oh, you're just messing around, or like,
right? Or
like even in like movies and stuff like that, like it's portrayed as a joke, when like how can that happen to males? You know, like
Right.
you can't just like push them off, and it's just like no, it's more than that. If you were to speak to this person again, what would you say?
The only thing I would really say to that person at this point is that I'm sorry for whatever happened to you in your life that made you that way and caused you to do that, and that it was wrong and it hurt, but I'm not letting the situation, you know, I guess hinder me at this point. I'm trying to grow and move on and learn from it.
Thank you for listening to this presentation and for your support of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and especially in supporting members of the LGBTQ community who have experienced sexual assault. Safe Berks is an open and welcoming agency and has service specific to members of the LGBT community. For questions or more information, please call our counseling department at 610-373-1206, extension 606. All services at Safe Berks are free and confidential. As you are aware, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, or SAM for short. SAM is a campaign to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educates communities about how to prevent sexual assault. The campaign theme this year is I Ask, with the message that asking for consent is a healthy, normal, and necessary part of everyday interactions. At Safe Berks, we work with schools, community organizations, and workplaces to help people learn about sexual assault. We offer a variety of prevention programming about healthy relationships, communication, respecting boundaries, and other skills to create a safer community for everyone. If you would like to see a full menu of Safe Berks education and outreach, presentations, and curriculum, you can go to safeberks.org and click on the Education tab. If you know a victim of sexual assault, Safe Berks is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can call our toll-free hotline, available in English and Spanish, at 844-789-SAFE. That's 844-789-7233, or you can text the words Safe Berks to 20121. We also offer services for victims of sexual harassment, abuse, and assault. All Safe Berks services are free and confidential. We have emergency shelter in our safe house, counseling, legal services, and MAP services, medical advocacy, available through local hospitals and to all victims of sexual assault. If someone tells you they are a victim of sexual assault, remain calm. Believe them and give them control. Listen and be available for the survivor to express a range of feelings and assure them of your support. Encourage counseling and be patient. Healing can take years with advances and setbacks, but healing can happen.